Hello and welcome to another episode of Webflow & Co, where I teach you the underlying code you're writing in Webflow. Let's talk about interactions. On this episode, I want to talk about Webflow Interactions and how they're destroying website experiences for many users. We touched on this a few weeks ago when I did my episode on ARIA roles, where I built a basic tab system in JavaScript and I showed you how you can use ARIA roles plus changing some interactive behaviors just using JavaScript. So not only are we helping accessibility users use our website a lot better, we're also helping non-accessibility users use our website a bit better. Those who might prefer to use their keyboards and such. Interactions in Webflow are insanely flexible and super simple, so kudos to whoever created that or designed that at the Webflow team. They've done a really good job there. But with that simplicity, we actually sacrifice a lot of the fundamentals in terms of making our website accessible. It's actually encouraging inaccessible and poorly functioning websites. As I mentioned in my previous episode, ARIA stands for Accessibility Rich Internet Applications, and they're a way to help JavaScript heavy, interactive heavy websites be more accessible to all users really. They help accessibility users understand what is happening, what just happened when they clicked an element, what element might have popped up or moved or something like that, or where they can expect to go next with their actions. ARIA also provides documentation on how we should be creating our interactive elements, what keyboard events should happen, what should the user expect to happen when they're interacting with the websites and how they should interact with it. They also provide documentation on how we should be building elements and what we need to be manipulating with our JavaScript. With Webflow Interactions, all we can really do is respond to clicks and hovers and scrolls and apply CSS, manipulate CSS on target elements, but unfortunately that's just not enough. If say I open a modal with like a contact form on it, I would expect that if I click tab, which is a way of navigating through a website without using the mouse, that if I click tab, it will actually hook onto the first element of that form. There also should be a tab index placed on the element and also the body, so tab index -1 will remove the rest of the page from my navigation using the tab, and by putting a tab index on the form, say for instance, it actually means that that's the only thing that I can tab on, or it's the next thing I can tab on. Also, if I click escape, it should close that modal and I should be sort of navigated, or my focus should be on where I left off on the page. As an accessibility user, I'd also want it to announce that a modal has just opened or something like that. None of this is possible with Webflow Interactions, and it focuses too heavy on the actual visual look and feel of interactions. So what's the solution? Well, unfortunately, it's going to kind of ruin the seamless experience that you have of creating interactions. There's already enough sort of select boxes and various settings already on there. But I do think it's essential. So when you create an interaction, I think there should be the ability to add or remove custom attributes, just like you see on the element settings tab. And you should be able to add them on the target element, the element that you've clicked, but also the element that is being manipulated by the interaction. Well, for keyboard users, I at least think we should be able to bind keyboard events as interactions as well. So with interactions, I guess it's important to note that if you are just clicking on a page and something is appearing and it's just graphical or some animation happens, this is not the sort of thing that you want to be, providing accessibility or ARIA role kind of functionality for, because it's just purely visual, it's purely aesthetic. Accessibility in ARIA is all about getting the content and making sure the content is visible to those people. Unfortunately, Webflow Interactions, I think, are just such a big flaw in the Webflow kind of application that I honestly don't really use them. I always gravitate just towards JavaScript. I know I'm writing less JavaScript than what probably is generated by Webflow because of that flexibility. I can just sort of write it all in sort of one function as opposed to probably many, which is what it's probably doing. Can't confirm that though. But in essence, unless Webflow figure out a way to make accessibility a kind of key feature of their interactions feature, really it's not going to drive towards their accessible future that they described last year, their goals that they want to set. So I hope this was helpful. Not really a tutorial this week, just more of a kind of an explanation and potentially a solution. Hopefully, letting you know what is to be expected of an interactive website, the sorts of things we actually need to be doing. I'll leave a link to my previous episode where you can look at how we can apply ARIA roles to our JavaScript. But also I'll leave a link to the documentation where you can see ARIA's examples on what we should be doing when we create interactive components. So until next time, happy no coding.